Welcome, everybody, back to the start of our annual Christmas Marathon interview series. And I am very, very happy to kick this off with one of the most interesting black metal bands of our time. I'm very sure they're too humble to admit it, but I'm very happy to have the Skarstad brothers from Yellow Eyes here on the show. So, guys, thanks for joining.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us. Happy
It
to
is
be
a,
here.
it is our pleasure. And I mean, like with black metal bands, it's always the way that, very often we don't see who you are on stage. So maybe you first say who you are and what you do in the band, apart from looking as handsome as possible.
I'm Will, play the guitar, do the vocals.
And I am the younger brother, Sam. I play guitar, and yeah, I
He
play
also
guitar.
he mixes and produces the records behind the scenes as well. So we both have different roles.
I'm also tap dancing on stage and doing all the electronics and the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, as long as it's tap dancing and not pole dancing, everything is fine.
Yeah, well, if only I had a pole, I'd probably be pole dancing.
But let's also clear it up. So, Will, you usually write most of the music, and Sam, you mostly write the lyrics, right?
Well, it's a complex blend.
It's blended.
We both write the music together in different ways, I would say. We write the music together in different ways, and then I torture myself with kind of, the later stage stuff, lyrics and production and everything.
I would say like I write a lot of the riffs, but we write a lot of the songs. We turn them into songs together, which is no small feat. It's probably over 50% of the work is that.
Well,
well over.
We've described it as sort of like the order matters. We don't get anywhere. We've tried various ways of starting a song. The best way that we start a song is by Will writing a bunch of riffs alone in his room. Tried and true method. We start there, and then then things get complicated after that. But we give it a solid year of Will. Sometimes Will says, "Come on, we got to write a new record," and I say, I don't know, show me 10 minutes of music and then we'll start. Let's get going here.
Then I disappear for a few months and I get very depressed and come back.
Yeah, but it's not a year since you released, but 2 years.
Yes. Yeah.
But then, of course, if Sam writes the lyrics, then at some later point, you will have to go into the studio and record the stuff that he came up with, right?
Yep. It's always been that way.
And that's always probably like, when it comes to recording, that is the very last part then, right?
Yeah. Often we don't even, maybe we've just gotten better at knowing what a Yellow Eyes song is, but often we're not really thinking too much about lyrical placement at all until the very end.
I will say this record was a little different. It felt a little different to me the way we did it, because somehow the completeness of the idea revealed itself slightly earlier than usual. Sometimes we go into a record and you're just building this tower and you're hoping it ends up a nice tower at the end. This one, it became a little more clear early on, I think, because we had just done Murmur. So there was, I did have a lot of ideas to draw from lyrically. And as we were writing, we were thinking a lot more. I think it's all a blur now. We were thinking a lot more about like, this could be a moment to do, some couplets of lyrics. I was doing more rhyming and things like that. So
yeah, the rhyming there's more rhyming here than ever before, which yeah, you can't really break it up.
It has, I will say, it has always been an interesting trick. I'll call it a trick. It's been a kind of a fun moment for me to be writing the lyrics, not always knowing where they go, sometimes knowing what song they go to, sometimes letting that be a little bit free. And then sometimes I love that moment of just giving it to Will and saying, put these wherever you want. I don't want to know. Let's just see what happens. And then he kind of feels it out in screaming into a microphone alone in a room. And that could be a good way to do it. This time we did it about half that way and half, well, this part we need to extend this to let there be lyrics. We need to figure this out.
And we knew which lyrics were going to which song.
Yeah, there was more of a structure, more thinking on this one.
Could this more structure also be a result of the fact that there is a connection to Master's Murmur, which also came out like 25 months ago. So basically like a year, 2 years before the new record.
Yeah.
Yes, and I would the concrete evidence of that. I've been thinking about this because you really do forget a lot when you finish. I mean, it's like, it's sort of it's a battle. You're just lost in this for so long. But I do remember thinking, and this really influenced the structure. I remember thinking we had introduced this idea of this character, the master, and there were mentions of this other female character, the widow. And I thought, well, one way that we could make this record really really have a punch conceptually is if instead of letting things stay untethered, we've always been kind of comfortable letting things stay a little unraveled and untethered. It's part of the band, can feel a bit like it's kind of insane. On this one, I thought, what if it actually has a complete feeling at the end, like an ending? Like instead of just hinting at the mountaintop, you actually get there and you have to fully describe what's there.
Yeah.
You're not letting ourselves off the hook in that way. So conceptually, that's where I think that affected the music. I remember thinking, even for Confusion Gate, we were like, let's just hammer this home, really hammer it home, not this time, not just let it dangle. So that was a big difference from the beginning, thinking about it.
Is that something where you say, okay, that might be a new trick of a trade for the band for future records, like trying also to play towards a certain thematic goal?
It's a good question.
I think we've always been more thematic than we thought. Like in the past, we might just think we're writing songs, but in looking back, it's like we've always kind of had, like, there's always been through lines with lyrics on records. We've always had some sort of narrative arc, at least in our mind. Is maybe not been as obvious as it is now. But no, going forward, I think the main takeaway is probably just, I mean, we feel as free as ever to do whatever we want and go any which way. I do think this was probably our best songwriting, in no small part from playing a lot of shows around the world in the 7 years in between, like, proper metal records. I think that's the main takeaway that we'll use going forward, is like, maybe a little bit more patience in our songwriting and stuff. But I think there's always we're always going to have some concept. I think we just like doing that. I didn't realize it until now. It's like we do this in our other bands, Sunrise, Patriot Motion, very much a conceptual thing, and I think it helps our creativity.
Yeah, but right. I mean, I still haven't gotten a sense of every time we push further into this world of I would call it maybe a thematic coherence or something. Everything is part of the same thought, the same, it's almost the same sentence. I haven't really felt internally why not to do that yet. There might, like, even with Master's Murmur, when we floated, we were kind of just joking about the idea of like, why don't we just do the same songs as metal and pretend they're not the same songs? We were just kind of like, what do we do? And there really wasn't, as the more we thought about it, the more it got serious, the more we started to think, what's the problem with sharing riffs or lyrics or storylines between albums? There's no issue there. I love when other bands do it, but you could even take it further. Why not? I mean, you could have your whole band just play the same song for your entire career. Just have the song be a little different every time.
Yeah, that's called AC/DC.
Yeah, AC/DC, exactly. I don't know. Painters did it. You could paint the same landscape 100 times, and it becomes interesting by the 20th time or something. I don't know. I mean, not to say we're going to keep doing this. We'll do a very different record next time.
We're contrarians to ourselves. We always like to do something unexpected. It keeps it interesting. So there's no telling what. We'll probably abandon all of this and do something very different.
Yeah,
we'll see.
We'll very, very much not do what I just said we're going to do. We will do something very different, I'm sure. I don't know. It's open.
It's interesting that you also refer to landscape, and that you refer also in a way, of course, to the cover of Confusion Gate. One thing that came to my mind when I saw the cover was, do they know that they're basically in a certain way ripping off a German painting?
No.
That's what I thought. Therefore, I'll show you what I mean. This is a German painting.
We took that photo ourselves.
Yeah. There is something not only in the storyline and also in a way from the painting, but a lot of it refers for me to the storyline. I'll show you which picture I am referring to. I'm referring to this one, Caspar David Friedrich from the early 19th century.
Oh yeah,
and it's called "The Wanderer Above the Fog Ocean." Let's put it like that. Der Wanderer über dem Nebelmeer in German.
Yeah, we should have just used that one.
Yeah, but I think like might have become a little expensive.
Yeah.
But there is something that also struck me because of the storyline. You are very, very often referring, and you've already done that on Masters Murmur. You introduced a character that is basically wandering around. I mean, like as Will has said, you always had like records that shared an overarching theme, but with this one, it's definitely more. Could we see more of this character of the Wanderer?
Well, it's funny because when I first started writing the lyrics for Master's Murmur, in my mind, it was always the same. A lot of Yellow Eyes songs, it's also just spur of the moment. I often write as huge patches of the lyrics in one burst. I go to the coffee shop and drink 5 cups of coffee and start seeing rainbows, and start fully losing. My heart is beating, as like a hummingbird, and I
Next
just start
moment he's chewing on crayons.
Yeah, exactly. I'm chewing on crayons. I'm really just tripping out on just I just get obsessed with little bits of language and but only later do I really start to, it's many drafts. I write a bunch of stupid stuff that makes me excited in the moment. I realize most of it is terrible the next day.
Just like writing music.
Just like writing music.
Same.
And it slowly refines, but I would say that only after reading, sometimes people have pointed out structural things across whole records that I had no idea. Someone said in some interview or something, I forget where this was, somebody said, yeah, Sick with Bloom is almost entirely about waterways, about poisoned waterways. And I thought, is it? And I went back and read the lyrics and I thought, God damn it, it is. Yeah. I didn't realize that. It's all about waterways. Every single song has like a different waterway in it and they all seem poisoned. I didn't realize it. That was incidental. But to me, one of those things that comes up over time is that I realize that they're all kind of from this first person point of view. It's often a doomed wanderer. And maybe that's because that's how I identify myself, as a doomed wanderer. But I don't know. It just kind of happened when I started writing Master's Murmur. I thought, well, let me just tap into the same little. Let me pull the same thread of the sweater that I've done in the past, and a lot of it still felt like the same person. So whoever it is out there on the slope, it's the same person to me that it's been throughout the rest of our discography. But
just a little bit more clearly visible now.
Sure, but it's it's more like the other characters are now the new threats in this landscape.
Has there ever been a moment when, for example, Will told you, okay, you've basically already written stuff like that, like you've been on this path for a little while?
No, we don't really we let Sam's very good at writing the lyrics. He when he shows the rest of the band, we're always just like, great. There's very little notes.
That's partially why it's a very easy and fun band to hang out with and play shows with, because nobody's giving me any grief about the lyrics, so I can do whatever I want. And it's kind of nice to just have my older brother have to scream them for 10 years at shows.
Yeah, but before you underprice and undersell yourself, let's be clear. The stuff that you come up with is in 99% of the cases not the run-of-the-mill black metal lyrics, so don't undersell your skills.
No, we're big. If he wasn't doing a good job, we might have notes, but he's always doing a good job.
That's what I meant.
No one's fired me yet, but it's there are times that I really look forward to this point because I'm often really I'm always working on the production around this time, or maybe it's a little bit before, and I'm always just I get really perhaps the word is lonely, but there's a much deeper iceberg to that feeling.
Mhm.
It's a personal struggle, the production often for me, and the lyrics are a way that I can I get to finally let this other part of my mind go, and it's often a great relief, even though it's hard in its own way.
To
Right.
those who might not know, we do everything in this band. You know, the four of us in the band, from uh, writing to recording, mixing, mastering, everything is just done between us. So and we
It's
all
a
have
very DIY thing, right?
very DIY, and we all have other. You know, unfortunately, we're not rich from this, so we all have other things to that we should be spending our time doing, which is why it can become so charged. And we're also very obsessive. So when we're in this mode, it's like everything else in our lives suffer.
Everyone and
For
everything else.
many months. It's not like for a week. It's like no, for like 8 months.
No, it's a full on. You do ask yourself, what am I working so hard for? Sometimes, but then you have the very concrete answer to that question a little later on. It's
So
a
we can
great
talk
thing.
to you.
Yeah, right. So we can hang
Well,
out
I
here
think
in the Zoom call.
that is like one of the minor effects, right? But it's interesting that you talk about being obsessive about the work in Yellow Eyes. Funnily, Sam here is the only one who has only one band that is recording and releasing stuff. Because the other three seem to be workaholics and have a minimum of like 2 or 3 other bands that they work with. Okay, not all of them anymore. For some of the bands like Sanguine Eagle,
Yeah.
for various reasons, that might not be that is not an active band anymore.
No.
But
But what people might not realize, my solo project is also fully recorded by Sam. He's often playing instruments. On the last record, he wrote the lyrics. It's like he's very much involved in all the things.
yeah. You mean that thing that you dropped shortly before New Year's and that basically fucked up my whole album of the year list? Yeah.
I guess so. I mean, I appreciate that. I don't even remember.
I remember that moment when Ralph sent me
guess
the
that was
Ustalost
late.
link, and I was like,
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate
Well,
that.
Yeah, I mean, it's I guess in a way, I really I mean, I do have other projects of my own that I just I don't have any social media, so I never I've realized that I'm actually quite content to record music and put it out and not really promote it too hard, and I think I just realized that I need the act of making it. I don't really care what happens to it. So I do have another project that I put out some stuff with. Yeah. Also, we have this other band. It's a goth.
Sunrise Patriot Motion is both of us.
That's both of us.
Yeah,
So,
and a few others. We'll come to that in a moment.
Okay.
Because I have a question about that one. But there is something I would like to connect that to the things that you said about, like other projects and the things. You've said that by now you know very well what a Yellow Eyes song and what is a Yellow Eyes song and what is not.
Yeah.
Is that also because you, by now, all four of you have found other outlets for the various other ideas that you have?
That's a good question.
yeah, let me think. I want to try to think about that for real.
I mean, I would say right now.
Shall I rephrase it?
No,
Or
I
is it
love
clear
it. I
enough?
love
Okay.
it. It's a good question.
I'd say right now we know what makes a Yellow Eyes song. We forget. We'll forget if we're not careful and we don't start working on music again soon. We'll completely forget, and it might take many months to remember. Right now, we still remember because
2 years ago, we haven't released a full band record in what is it, 7 years or something. 2 years ago, if you had talked to us on this day, you would have encountered some gloomier characters here. We were sort of we were at a very different stage.
We remembered how to write a Yellow Eyes riff.
Right.
That's easy. But to write a Yellow Eyes
write a song is harder, and to remember some of the tricks that we knew, and you learn, you forget, you learn, you forget. A lot of life is like this. You have to keep learning lessons that you thought you knew. again,
talking to a teacher. I know that all.
right. Yeah.
There you go.
So you realize a decade later, I've forgotten this fundamental lesson that I knew as a teenager, or as a 20 or 30-year-old. So it's like that with writing music, I think, for us at least, where we listen back to an old song and we kind of take for granted we played it a million times live. And I think a lot of bands at a certain point in their career probably feel this. They think, oh yeah, let's just get back in the studio. Let's write another hit album. And then you sit down and you realize that after a few months of writing, you think they're not on fire. They're not jumping off the page. I don't love that.
I mean, it's happened to us.
Why.
They're not gripping you by the throat.
No,
they're not gripping.
We've had many songs before we released this in the demo era of this record. Songs that after months of working together and the riffs are A+, no problem. The structures, it's like I can't figure out what's wrong with the structure, and we sit there night after night being like, I think we got a song. I think we got a song. We just go home and both realize we don't have it. It doesn't. It just, and I to this day I'm not sure I could tell you what was ever wrong with it. It's just they just weren't right, and I think that's where we got better at knowing when we had a Yellow Eyes song is when you finally crack it, which in this case took 6 months or something of not constant work, but we were trying to be at it regularly. And it was just, our one strength is that we like blow up songs when they don't work. I think a lot of people might want to like save. I have that tendency too. I'm like, let's not throw that away. I love that riff or something. But really the way for us forward is like, you have to be okay with throwing away things you love and really starting over.
Well, it's
because you don't, otherwise you get too attached to it, right?
Yeah, you can't get too attached. You have to zoom out and be like, but the song's not working. And you can still love this thing, but it just doesn't, it's holding it back.
But here's where it gets complicated is because, we've been brothers for quite a long time. And
I guess for all of your life, right?
For most
just
of our
about
lives. Yeah. And so, and we grew up in the same room. We were fighting a lot as kids. We're not like that anymore, but there are times that you still feel these kind of brotherly tensions rise up, or especially when we're both frustrated with a song, and we both have different reasons that we think it's not working, and it's not always smooth sailing. And one thing I remembered on this record that I'd sort of forgotten from previous records is that it's often the case that if you are the member of if you're the one who doesn't like something about a song that everyone else likes, it's not enough to say, I don't like it, because everybody else is going to say, it's fine. You have to be the one to prove what's better. So yeah. This happened to me many times on this album where everybody else said, I think it's fine. It'll kind of come out in the wash. It'll be okay when we record it.
At one point we'll understand it, right?
We'll understand it later, but I would say I something is bothering me. I don't know. And of course then everyone kind of looks at me and says, well, prove it. And it's like, okay. And I would go home and just work on it.
It's no small thing. I mean, he'll
4 days, 5
days and days and days of work.
Trying every single thing, just going fishing, just like what's I don't know, maybe this whole chorus is twice as long and it goes to an entirely new place and then comes down. Structurally, it's very complicated to figure out like something that's unusual but also catchy. It's I often say to heavier bands that sometimes I like kind of being a Rick Rubin to other people's bands. It's fun for me, and it's kind of fun. Not that I'm of that level, but it's like a micro version of that role that I play for like friends' bands sometimes.
Yeah, let's be honest. Your opinion is valued.
Well, I'm a producer by trade. It's sort of fun to like, I'm a composer too. I have to get concise ideas. So I always try to say to people, you shouldn't run away from this idea. Like the hardest thing to do is be catchy in an interesting way. No matter who you are, even if you're if you're making noise, if you're spraying inner plates on the wall, you have to make it catchy. And to make something heavy and catchy at the same time, to me is like the ultimate holy grail. If you can do it, your band is great. And that's the thing. So what is catchy? It's in structure, it's in repetition. So it's a lot of the things that we get hung up on is repetition. how much are we repeating things? Are we like this comes and goes too quick? It's about speeds, and that's where Mike, our drummer, often comes in, where he's just, he comes in with just a fresh, head full of ideas, and he's saying, "What are we doing? This is too much. It's too much is happening. Stop."
I get to answer your question. It's like, how do we get better at knowing how to write a Yellow Eyes song? It's like we've been doing it a long time, so we trust Mike when he says something. He's usually right. When Sam feels that something's not working, I'll say he's always right. Mike's always right. We're all we just trust our we've just gotten better at trusting our instincts. It's like there's not really any arguing that goes on in this band. It's
but
cool.
To be clear, there's a lot of times, happened many times on this one, where I would do something on my own for a couple of days, and I'd be like, I think this is cool. I think it's working. And Will would hear it and just be like, no, it's not the same as before. I liked it better before. And I would say, I'd in vain try to argue it. And then Will would pick up a guitar and play something different. And I would just be like, I'm so stupid. Of course,
we're all always
done
right
it that way
and always wrong.
I guess the point is, it's very much it's like you're triangulating. You're constantly triangulating. That therein lies the kind of coherence. It's like you're trying to triangulate.
Yeah, and then of course there are surely those moments where all of you try to work on one idea. All of you try to twist it so that it works.
Mm-hmm.
But then nobody comes up with that one thing. And maybe it's not because, I'm very sure it's not because you're stupid, but just because there might not be a way to turn this particular thing into a Yellow Eyes.
Yeah.
Right. There are times that it feels good. It feels like good for another band.
Therein lies the other bands, the other projects.
Because a lot of times
put them over there.
We've often, we're not like a heavy band in the way that other bands are heavy, or maybe, we find a different way to like a doomed feeling. We're E standard tuning, so it's like our lowest note is like a fair amount of notes up the fretboard from another band, even other black metal bands who tune down. So it's like, and we just kind of like it that way. It's a nice kind of baritone register, but you do have to find other ways to make it sound threatening than just hitting like a low note.
Yeah, but the good thing about it is that I would say Yellow Eyes songs are for the initiated, not for the uninitiated, but for the initiated listener, are quickly to be recognized as Yellow Eyes songs.
I do think, yeah, that's probably true.
When we talk about songwriting on Confusion Gate, on the new record, I would also like to talk about the three interludes that you have. Nocturne, Beyond, and Entrance. No, what is it? Let me look it up before I fuck it up again.
The Entrance.
And Entrance, right? So
yeah.
all of a sudden you basically have three interludes that also interestingly form something of a phrase. This is the Nocturne, Beyond the Entrance.
You're the first person to pick up on that. Yes, that was
honestly, I'm not sure I've ever even picked up on that. So good job.
Yep, that was something I was planting a little secret breadcrumb trail there.
Yeah, it sounded a little bit like the Castle of Otranto. It sounded like a Gothic catchphrase.
Yep.
Cool.
But of course these also form some kind of, not framework, but some kind of structural guideline through the tracks, because all of them are somewhere between 64 and I think like 120, 140 seconds long. Interestingly, and that is not about the lyrical content, because there is no lyrical content in these, but I had the feeling as if each of them became a little more psychedelic than the one before.
I have to commend you for this question. I love how you phrased it. Yes,
you're a very good listener.
You pulled something out of there that I'm not even like there was. Yeah, my point is, I like the question.
But am I right? Is the intention that it gets a little bit more psychedelic with each one?
Because in my mind,
also always a little longer.
Yeah. Yes. Well, to this moment, even when you get to know your own record after it's released.
Yeah.
Almost more than before. Even when I was working on it every day in the mixing phases and the finishing phases, I thought I knew it then. I didn't know it until like, this week when I'm finally listening to it with a fresh head.
Yeah,
But
because you're too much caught up in it.
Yeah,
too caught up in it.
Yeah.
But the one thing that in my mind, when I think of the record and I think of the track listening, I've listened to it a bunch of times now. And I remember thinking this and trying to do this, but I wasn't sure if it actually came out in the presentation of it. But I love the idea of it just being this this physical, almost like you see the contour of the mountain you can feel this the stakes are being raised in subtle ways. And I like the idea of, so the first thing you hear on the record, the first moment, this is just the way I was thinking of it. When you first put on the record, Brush the Frozen Horse, the first few seconds of Brush the Frozen Horse, I was thinking of it like almost like you're just waking up in some kind of medieval courtyard. You're down low somewhere. You're hearing things. It's almost a bit of a village feel. There's like a flute in the wind.
Sounds like New England in the late 1800s.
Right. And suddenly things start happening. The horse starts galloping. You're on it. You're on some kind of journey. The lyrics are about, we fear we stopped too long. And so we're getting going. By the time you hit Nocturne, the first interlude, you've just finished with one of the most intense songs on the album, Suspension Moon, which is very fast, and it has a really tight ramp up. It just coils tightly, and by the time you reach there, you really your ear wanted a place to rest. That was my thought for that interlude. It's like
it was at the time. It was all intuitive. I didn't even realize that they were getting longer and more complex. To me, it was just that's how it had to be.
Yeah, it's right. It's an intuitive thing
in the narrative.
Yes, it started intuitive, but then as I realized that it was working, I did try to push this more. The Nocturne is a little flatter. You're like,
you're right, just a hovering
Nocturne, and the lyric is about that, or the title. By the time you get to Beyond,
you had another two tracks in between.
I almost called that something before I realized that I could hide a little secret, make it into a sentence. That was to me the moment that you really see. I imagine like seeing this shimmering snow-covered Alp or something, like you're seeing this mountain, or I imagined almost seeing this mountain face, some surreal, ethereal mountain face in the air, kind of in the mist or something. I was imagining that being like, now I see that I'm actually climbing. In my mind, that one's almost like this hinge point where the album is kind of going like this, and then suddenly it's like, oh, I have to go. I have to go up. Yeah. It's like a moment of acceptance in the story where it's like I'm being compelled. I'm trying to find a way out of this.
But I'm still drawn. I'm still drawn.
Yes. Forgotten corridors. Like maybe there's another way out of here. Maybe I can go down. Maybe I don't have to go up. But then when Beyond comes, it's almost like the tractor beam takes control, and you're like, I have to. Yeah. I can't do anything else. Then you're going up, and by the time you reach the entrance, that's the moment where I imagine you kind of cresting, and you're like, well, I have no choice but to go through. And that was actually a really interesting one, because I had a feeling. We were talking about it all the time, listening to it, thinking about it. I had a feeling that there had to be a really key pivot point in that interlude. Hence your feeling of it being more psychedelic. In my mind, that whole time, it's like, it has to be a pivot point. It has to be like first, and then you have to transform for the second half of the interlude. And I was kind of knocking my head against it. I was losing my mind, mixing half the time, working on the interludes the other half of the time. I wrote the first half of that with a bunch of flutes and medieval instruments, was just blowing them, synths and all this stuff. And then I knew it had to be something completely different, but I was like, I don't know what it is. I can't figure out what it is. And I was trying and trying and trying. I kept doing different tonalities and different tones and everything. And I thought, I don't know. And I called Will, and I just said, I think we were going to meet up anyway for that night. And I said, try something. I can't figure out what this needs. And basically, Will put a guitar in his hands, and within, I'm not kidding, maybe 13 minutes, he had written the entire second half of that interlude on guitar. And I was just like, it felt so good.
It's fun in those
Thank
moments
you.
to just be
Thank
like,
you.
it just has to feel like you're climbing. It has to be off-putting and confusing, disorienting, and yeah, it is pretty easy when you're in a nice studio. I'm usually recording in my little room where I have to stop and hit record, and to have Sam sitting there and being like, record. Oh, okay. And to have somebody be like, you can do it, which is also a rare thing in my life. Usually I'm just alone being like, you can't do it.
Well,
So,
it does. I mean, I found this too. It really helps to have someone sitting there. I mean, when I'm working, I can write things faster too when Will's here. When even if I'm like working on a certain patch or something, if I know it's just not the my own silly, unchecked mind, it really helps. It does. You need some balance. But anyway,
Yeah.
that was one of those examples where it really felt like the collaboration really paid off because it's like we need A part and B part, and they have to feel different, almost like they're two different people writing them. And then I like the idea that in that B section, that moment where there's like that climax and there's this kind of whoosh and everything kind of gets serene. In my mind, that was like you've entered the gate there.
Yeah.
That's the point where I was like you've gone into the other dimension, and now you're on. By the time you're in Confusion Gate, you're sort of in that song. You're like hovering on this meadow and wondering what went wrong, and it's this kind of sad acceptance that you're there, and what happens now.
It's interesting that you talk so much about storytelling because I'm not sure whether that was conscious. I'm pretty sure it was unconscious, but you're also using a few literary tricks. For example, you contrast I Fear the Master's Murmur with Beyond. So basically, you're contrasting fear with longing because, in the sense that you're telling the story, the beyond is something that you are drawn to. And of course, it's a juxtaposition to I Fear the Master's Murmur, which is about fear. So is that something, and or also like the entrance and the gate? Basically, it's a doubling down on the same idea. Is that something that is important for you in general when you write that stuff? That
Yes.
the story is a complete narrative with all literary bits and pieces?
Yes. This is where we both do have like very obsessive qualities, and this is one where when it comes to these moments, I mean, yeah, I was like in my mind, I couldn't stop until every piece of this was in the right place,
Mm-hmm.
and all of those things. I mean, even when we were all talking about track listing, and I was it was all coming together pretty quickly. And I thought, well, in order for this arc to happen in any even a great book, for this to be smooth takes a lot of work, and it's not
Mm-hmm.
easy because you have
Yeah.
to make sure it's not like, oh, let me draw a graph and then the graph will perfectly render itself. No,
No,
it's like
no.
making it out of clay. You have to smooth it out by hand.
Yeah.
It's not like a vector or something. It's like you got to build it. So in with that mood shift, it was like the I Fear the Master's Murmur feels like the last exit in a way. It's like it's the last moment where it's like, well, yeah, there is like, this story is almost introduced there of these two figures, these two mysterious figures. It's like now I'm hearing the term, the character of the master hearing the widow. They're being introduced, and it's like, you're it's like this frightening, almost marital domestic tale, and then after that comes this feeling of like, well, I can't fight it. I can't fight it anymore. I just have to go along with it. So it's almost like the first half of the record is a naive sense of journeying. The middle part of the record is this maybe denial of trying to get out of this. And the last half is this sad resignation, like
The
I can't
acceptance, right?
acceptance. I
yep.
can't get out of it. I have to just go up. So yeah.
Something that I like about the record a lot is how you also sometimes play with elements, with different instruments and different effects. On some of the songs, you are using the synths, and sometimes that sounds as if you are adding a choir, a choral element.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And that gives a lot to this gothic feel of the record. Because I'm not kidding. When I heard it, I felt like, okay, if we had a recording instrument in like 1780, 1790, that could be stuff that we could have recorded 230, 240 years ago in New England. And, you know, these choral elements, as an example, that makes a little, I don't want to say historical, but it gives it a little bit of a history buff feeling. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, we thought a lot about what sounds to use. I mean, you know, when you have a studio like Sam's here, we have infinite sounds to choose from, which is often not a benefit. It's like anything can be better.
The only way forward is to not think too hard about what sounds you're choosing, even though there's a lot of thought that goes into it. But
we had a couple of ideas. I mean, early on, we knew we wanted. We just had these funny ideas while we were recording, but you know, this medieval feeling we knew we kind of wanted. We got into the idea of getting a shawm, which is a medieval like horn, kind of like woodwind oboe-ish, very brash, loud. So Sam bought one of those, but then he also made a synth sound that mimicked a shawm. So you can have these swirling kind of feelings of like synth sounds, real sounds.
Yeah, I'll reveal a trick that I'm just gonna pretend that I invented. I don't know where this other people may do this, but it feels like it felt like a eureka moment for me. It was like a discovery for me. But I realized all over this record is a little trick that we even started to do on Masters Murmur, and maybe even maybe not Rarefield Ceiling. Masters Murmur, we did a lot of this, but so we were doing a lot of like blending real instruments and fake instruments in nearly imperceptible ways, where you would have an acoustic guitar plucking a melody in this ear, and in the right ear there would be a cheesy 90s synth acoustic sample plucking the counter melody.
Yeah.
And your brain would have no idea what was happening. It's a very trippy effect. So I thought, well,
that's why some of the guitars sound like a lute.
Yes, well, some of them are real and some of them are fake. So basically what I thought, let's just push this even farther. So I decided, and also, by the way, a shawm is very hard to play. Like, I don't really know how to play.
None of us are woodwind players.
I thought I could. I thought, well, I can sort of play a tin whistle and like I have a bagpipe. I've played all these things, just tried. I thought I could probably play a shawm. It's pretty hard to make like a polyphonic Renaissance melody come out of a $50 instrument that you bought off eBay. So I thought, well, let me use this psychedelic trick with the shawm. So I built a synth patch that tried to mimic the shawm as closely as possible. And I would blow into the shawm and try to, do these. There's a lot of almost animal noises on the album. And a lot of that is with the shawm. I'm trying to make it sound like a sheep or something. And then I would use the synth and the pitch wheel to try to perfectly match what it was doing, or, do almost a response. So it's like the real shawm and then the fake shawm doing these kind of call and response.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in a way the fake shawm almost sounds more old-fashioned and almost medieval than the real shawm. That's the one that a lot of people might think is a real shawm, is a synth that I'm playing with the pitch wheel. But then the real shawm is in there too, as like this kind of wailing.
Just keep it confusing.
Thing. Yeah.
Keep you guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if people are confused and interested, they will keep on digging as much as possible. It's interesting that you mention emulating medieval instruments, because you also got a guest musician on the record. Musician, not vocalist, musician. You got Patrick Shiroishi.
Yes.
One of the most interesting figures in, for lack of a better word, let's say modern jazz.
Yeah.
And I know that is a bad trying to pinpoint.
No, that's fair. Yeah.
How did that happen? How? I mean, like, I like the stuff that you did to your free tracks there. Like the first, the second, and the last. But how did that happen? I would never have
Patrick's
imagined.
he's an amazing guy. We during COVID, we probably, we both moved into houses. We were distracted with, I moved into a horrible house and had to learn how to fix it up myself. So we took like a couple years off performing. It seems like it was just, yeah, I guess everybody probably was at that time, but it was our first show back out in Missouri, a state in America that, we don't really extensively tour America or anything. There's no
Missouri.
There's no reason for us to really be there, but it was interesting. It was compelling enough to get us out there. We like things where it's like it's not just a metal festival. It was interesting. It's like, okay, what's up with this? Let's go do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was our first show back. I think we were the only metal band, and they put us in this church, which had a really crazy atmosphere, and the opening act was this just experimental trio, Patrick and these other two guys. We hadn't seen live music in a long time, and here we are in this wild church in a state that we don't know, and the lights were dim, the ambience was crazy, and they went out and performed, and like we were shocked. We were like, this is like unbelievable what we're witnessing right now. It wasn't just that it was like in a church or our first show in a while. It was truly unbelievable. They were so good. And I didn't even know that Patrick, I didn't know he was into metal but we started talking. Then I realized later we had been corresponding since like 2010 or something, when we first started the band. Like our first record, he had written to me getting cassettes, and I realized he's like a real metalhead. Like he knows like a ton of people in the scene. And anyway, we're always down for strange additions to our sound. And when we did Masters Murmur, we became fast friends essentially with Patrick.
Yeah.
We're like, we went out, played in LA, and we hung out with him. Like when he plays in New York, we go see him. We just became fast friends, and it was a no-brainer when we did Masters Murmur and have all this experimental stuff going on. We just called him up and we're like, Patrick, do something. And he did. And
do some magic.
He did some magic, and it was so easy. We don't usually collaborate, not for any reason. We just get in our own heads and just do it. But
I think there was
he made it easy.
Yeah, he made
it easy.
I think like there was a moment we realized that there's no downside to bringing other people into your album, really. It's like we did this I think for the first time on Rarefield Ceiling. We had Mick Barr come over and just from Krallice do a little guitar improvisation thing. It was really subtle in this interlude, but I always loved it because I thought, well, there's a lot of us on there. Maybe there's a second where there's somebody else. That was one of the first moments I was like, it's better to have, there's no reason not to call in your friends to do stuff. And then that sound of Patrick's style of playing, that quivering saxophone sound, was integral to Masters Murmur to me in the overall picture. And
he did that in like one day. He was on tour. And we were like, Patrick, can you do a thing for, this track? It was probably like, honestly, like a week before we released the record. And he found a stairwell somewhere, in a big echoey stairway in some venue. And I in my mind, he sent it back like within a few hours. It was just like, here you go.
Well, I think we might have told him, well, we did do that whole album in like 3 weeks. So I think we might have told him,
like, this is coming out in like a few days.
It's coming out on Friday and it's Tuesday. Can you get this done for us? I mean, we didn't give him any time at all, and he had to do it on tour in the stairway of the venue he was at that night.
It was just perfect. Yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer. So of course, doing this one, it's like, Patrick,
and
come back.
Venue also, and first of all, I like the fact that Patrick is another bridge between the records. That is awesome.
Well, we realized that too. It's like as we saw the link becoming stronger and stronger. It's like just another link.
Mm-hmm. But you also have two more guests on the record. You have two people who provided lyrics. First of
Yep.
all, our common friend, Mr. Schmidt from Ulfa. By the way, it's funny that you are having the Ulfa poster back there, and somebody is wearing an Ulfa
There you go.
t-shirt. So you have Ralph on it, of course, also a no-brainer, and then you have Natasha on it.
Another no-brainer because she's my wife.
Yes. But this, and that's what I liked about it, that indirectly is a bridge to one of your other projects, to Sunrise Patriot Motion.
Again, I think you're probably the only one to ever.
You might be the only one to
ever get that bridge.
Yeah, I try to do my research, guys.
You're very good at this.
Did it.
I mean, like, apart from the fact that she's your wife, but I mean, like, these are two separate musical entities, and I mean, like, I guess that for the first time you just said, like, honey, just sing on this one. How easy was it to persuade her to do it again for this one? Or is she at a point where I'll just do it? Or is she again?
I mean, no, she's just like, sure. But I think why we like to use her is she's Russian. She's lived here for a while. We like our music to feel not necessarily of one place or another, and she has this kind of this accent of
that's why you use a German who can't speak English and a Russian.
Well, beyond that, from a producer standpoint, Natasha's she's very intelligent, she's very shrewd, she's very perceptive. She's
Russian.
She's a therapist. She's very dry. She understands. She's got this kind of dry sense of humor.
And but she's a brave lady if she's married to one of you guys.
Right, exactly. She's really put up with a lot here. But she's sort of soft spoken at times. But I know from Sam's known her for a decade. We've been hanging with Natasha for many years, and I know that she has a side of her that's very performative. She has like a dramatic, a flair for drama deep down, and yeah, she's spent her.
She understands the assignment.
She was like raised in the nightclubs of Siberia. She understands what drama is all about and kind of darkness. So, she knows she'll kind of, it doesn't take a lot to get her there.
I mean, she did all of those in like one take. Yeah, I think every single thing.
And that was one of those things where as the lyrics were coming together and I was realizing more and more how to make everything flow, I thought, well, we have, Ralph was an obvious choice. I thought, well, in this idea from the beginning of revealing the master, revealing the mountaintop, and not just letting it be this dangling thing, let's hear the master at the end. What are we never going to hear him? We want to hear him. And we were thinking like, well, it's got to be Ralph. It's got to be Ralph.
We love Ralph. I mean, we love Ralph. We've played many shows. I mean, some of our most important memories as a band are with Ralph. We love him, and
that's why you're also going to perform with him at the same festival in a few months.
Right.
That's right.
I mean, we if Ralph ever hits us up with a wild idea, we're always there. We're like, yes, we'll be there.
I mean, don't tempt him.
Yeah, those guys are great friends, and they're the ones who really kickstarted our playing in Europe, because they invited us out for the first time and made it really easy, and we thought, well, how about
Not
that?
The first time.
Second, was it the second time?
First proper time.
First proper time.
Yeah, we have infinite love for all of them.
But they make our lives easy there, and they're great friends. But Ralph had forget all that, put all that aside. Ralph's voice was the voice we needed, and Natasha's voice was the voice we needed. We would have kicked them to the curb if their voices weren't right.
Yeah,
it's all about the album here.
Mm-hmm. The last thing that I would like to ask before we come to the quickfire round at the end is maybe a little sad. I'm not sure if everybody has heard it, but the guys are releasing through Gilead. And maybe you can drop the bomb that maybe some people have not really understood. There is some sad connection between Gilead and Confusion Gate, and one of you can explain it. I've shed my tears on that one.
Well, yeah,
literally.
We've known for a while Gilead Media is coming to an end, which is sad for in some ways, but in knowing Adam, the man behind Gilead Media, I'm actually not sad for him because he seems so happy. He seems so happy now that his duties are done, and honestly, we weren't sure he was even going to be down to release this one because we knew it was winding down, and we called him just because we thought, he's been such an easy person to work with. We have a lot of love for him. I mean, he's been with us for all of our big records, and we knew he was pressing Master's Murmur. That's important, because I mean, he's such a lover of music. We had a long talk with him. We said, we're doing this new record. We know you want to be done, but it's connected to Master's Murmur, and we just want to let you know first if you have any interest in doing this. And as much as he wanted to be done, he's like, I respect the connection between these two records too much to not put this one out also.
Mm-hmm. It's the best compliment that I could give Adam is that he I mean, he's never been in it for the buck. He's in it for the, he understands when something has to happen. And, he understood that that it was important to put these.
The second we told him about the connection, he just kind of heaved a heavy sigh.
He's like, okay.
He's like, let's do it.
But, but also as a compliment to Adam, all of our records, and maybe this is a condemnation of our chaos process, but when we often wouldn't even tell Adam when we were recording a new record. I think that this has happened
we just get
every time.
Too obsessed.
We just got so deep in the process. We would never think about publicity. We'd never thought about what we were making. And then we realized only after we finished mastering the record that we had never even told Adam that we were making a record. This happened a few times.
A couple times.
We were in the airport flying to Germany.
Yeah.
To go on that tour.
Every year that was 2018.
To go on that tour.
Yeah.
Airport flying to Germany, and we realized we'd never sent Adam the link, the existence or the link to Rare Field Ceiling from 7 years ago. And we thought, oh my God, what are we doing? We sent him the finished mastered record
in the airport.
In the airport. We said, we got this album. You want to put it out? And by the time we landed, he was like, let's do it. Easy as that. That's the best compliment I could give Adam. How about that? You don't even have to tell him you're working on a record,
Yeah.
Especially for a guy who didn't grow up a metalhead, but more of a hardcore kid.
Right. That's right. Yeah. No, he made a huge impact
he heeds the call, and
our scene.
He never once told us anything. He never
said no. He
never told us that we couldn't do anything. Never told us that, there was never a question of like creative interference at all. I mean, we made some wild decisions that maybe in hindsight were okay, but at the time, like, yeah, if I were a label head, I would have been like, really, guys, this is I don't know.
You sure? Like maybe a little earlier. Yeah, but I know what you mean.
Yeah. We will miss him. I mean, but maybe we'll see. Maybe we can convince him to come back and no, just kidding. We'll let him be in peace.
Just one more job, man. One more job.
Just one more trilogy.
Yeah, that's right.
One more trilogy.
Trilogy. I'm sorry, Adam.
It'll be when we're in our 60s.
Yeah. But I guess if you did that, he would still say, "Okay, let's do it."
Well, he now owns a couple record stores. He lives in Wisconsin, which is very
Oshkosh.
Yeah, it's about as far from us here in New York as you are in Germany. It seems. As far he's out there.
Mentality wise, yes, definitely.
Yes.
Location wise,
but he owns a couple record stores, like actual like brick and mortar stores, and he's very happy. He seems like he's doing very well.
Yeah, and I think that's the most important thing, right?
Yeah.
So maybe it's not over. I don't know. We'll see.
You wish. So guys, the quick fire round at the end.
Okay.
I'll give you a few bands to choose from. Mayhem versus Emperor.
Oh man, Probably Mayhem.
Mayhem.
Why? Just because we're older? Just
Yeah,
because
I think when I was first getting into black metal, I think I was drawn more to the more raw stuff, less of the synth. The synth I've only embraced, like, I mean, I still love it, but it just
We've only embraced since we started using it in our music.
I think just my early love was like the very raw, you know, guitars and drum and bass stuff.
Mhm. I tried to come up with a partner for this first band, and it really took me a while to find a good one. Faults of Rauros versus Vukari.
Oh man.
Well, we played with Falls of Roros once in
Yeah, I think they were on
May?
Gilead Media. So got
Yeah.
to throw
yeah,
it to
gotta throw it to Falls of
throw it
Roros.
the
Yeah,
label mates
they were
over
great.
there.
Yeah, it was a
Nice
cool
guys
show.
too.
We played in like what was it in Portland?
Portland, Maine,
Vina?
or something. Yeah.
Um, yeah, they were cool. I like those guys.
Then I thought of again a band that was or is now was by now we have to say was I hate that was on Gilead and one that is locally close to you. I'll give you Mismore versus Woe.
Man, these are tough
Wow.
because we're friends with all these people.
We're gonna get punched.
That's a good thing. No one will beat your ass because you can still be friends with them.
I love they're all wonderful people. I would
Yes.
say I mean I just out of knowing to me our relationships are forged it's funny being in a band. You get close to people very quickly because you're sharing some strange experience, but got to throw it to the Mismores because of our time in we've overlapped in some strange places with Liam. One of our early tours in Europe, he was playing. I think he was playing in Hell at that time, but a shared wild night in Antwerp or something.
Yeah. For any head to head of bands that we're friends with and we know and we love, you got to give it to the ones that we had the earlier experience with. That's the tie break. So that would be Liam as more. Yeah.
Anybody wants to know a little bit more about Liam's work, then you can also visit our archive. We have we already did 2 interviews with the guy, and
there you go.
He's one of the nicest people to interview. I have to say,
very nice guy.
Yeah.
We love him.
He's a nice guy,
and we love Chris Grigg and all the Woe guys too. We love them all.
Yeah, we love them all.
Yeah, but I mean, like I knew that these were hard ass questions, but you know, easy ones is not my type. The next one is a little bit easier because you cannot offend a band, because I'll give you 2 records by the same band. Wolves in the Throne Room, Celestial Lineage versus Black Cascade.
I like
which one?
I like Celestial Lineage. That's
what year is the Black Cascade one from? Is that the?
Let me look it up before I again say something wrong.
Wolves in the Throne Room holds a special place in our heart because when we were living in the Czech Republic in 2008, this was in the winter of 2008, we went out to see Wolves in the Throne Room play before we had started Yellow Eyes. We were just starting to go see
another brother band.
Brother band. We saw them play in 007 Club in Strahov in Prague.
Yeah.
And they were cool. We were like, where you guys go? So how'd you guys get here? And they're like, well, we're on tour. We're like, where are you going tomorrow? They're like, I don't know, Slovenia, Slovakia, whatever. And we're like, man,
it was very,
that's crazy. We talked about it the next day. We're like,
we got to change some things up. We can't just stay here in Prague. We got to go back and see if we can.
We got to go right
play
to
in Prague.
We got to figure this out.
Although I have to say that Prague is one of my favorite cities.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
But we've seen them. We've actually overlapped very little since then. Although we did play at Fire in the Mountains, the festival out west 2 years ago, and I'm not sure they remembered meeting us in Prague. But they are important to us. I'll also say Celestial Lineage.
So before anybody asks, Celestial Lineage is 09 and Black Cascade is 11. So
okay, I was right. The earlier stuff.
Yeah. And I know the following question is hard to answer quickly, but I'll ask it nevertheless. Is making music for you a catharsis, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Thought so.
Yeah. It's also it also poisons.
It's a punishment.
It cleanses and it reintroduces new toxins simultaneously, but it does keep things moving.
But a catharsis, yeah.
I'll give you a band as an example, and then you just say whether you can go with the genre. There are a few black metal bands that include like dungeon synth and medieval stuff very, 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 very much more than you guys will ever do. And the example band for me would be Funereal Presence.
Yes.
Is that kind of black metal something that you can go with or not?
Yes.
Definitely yes.
Especially that band. That band's amazing.
Love Funereal Presence. That's to me that's one of the best. That's one of the bands that actually makes me transported in that way. It's kind of hard to do that, to hear something and think to really let your mind wander in that way. They do it. They do it well.
Yeah, that's a good example.
It's a great
And
example.
if anybody from Funereal Presence ever hears this, hit me up. I want to do an interview, and I've been doing that for years. I've been writing them through Bandcamp, and let's make this happen.
It is funny because when I was like, when we were,
I know we're rapid fire. We're slowing your fire down.
We'll slow it down.
No. I only have 2 more. Don't worry.
There was a moment when when we were working on Confusion Gate. I remember this. It was so funny. We were like sitting out in this like, sitting on this old couch, just in this, just looking at the forest, on a break from sessions or whatever, and I was describing like how this album could open. I was like, like some legitimately medieval sounding thing, maybe some kind of like flute that feel, like that you really feel like,
and that's where I got it from. I was like,
and it's like exactly
well,
like,
so we
like, like that Funereal Presence album, and then I play it, and I was like,
our hearts sunk. We're like,
God damn it, that's exactly what I was talking about. To the point where
now we have to change it up.
I might have even been thinking of that, like it was so close that I was like, I didn't realize how much that moment
all of us were just like, man, that's exactly what we should have done.
Yeah,
but they did it first.
We had to pull some other tricks, but it's a great album. I love that album. I love the band.
Yeah. As we were talking about gothic feel, I thought, okay, which veteran bands I could give to you, and I came up with 2 of the easy, peaceful staples from back in the day: My Dying Bride versus Paradise Lost.
Yeah, I never was super into this. I was never super into this world.
Mm-hmm.
I know some songs from both. I don't know. I don't know. Whatever I'm going to say is going to.
So this is your pass, Sam. Do you take a pass or can you decide?
Also, it's funny because perhaps like Adam, I was the brother who I was pulled into metal from Will. Later in life, it was actually when we were living in Prague and going to metal shows that and feeling dark that I suddenly realized how much I loved it. So I came in through the sunroof of I loved black metal first, and then only later did it through osmosis. I was trickling back. I didn't have this this natural development into metal, so I missed like several decades.
You missed the transition stage, right?
Yeah, so it's this, So
I was a typical metal kid. I was in Norway, and when I was 18, listening to the Norwegian black metal bands, milking cows on a farm. I came from very black metal Norwegian path. That's what drew me in.
Oh, by the way, another one that I would like to ask. I mean, I know you guys have a kind of background, but if you ever talk to Austin Lynn from Panopticon again, I'm very sure you know the guy. Please.
Anyway, I mean, sure.
But let's not turn this into an advertisement thing. I have 2 more, and they're both kind of on the funny side.
Okay.
I know that at a certain point, you lived in New York City.
Yeah, for a decade. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll give you two of the, for me, most interesting New York hip hop acts. I'll give you KRS-One versus the Beastie Boys.
Oh man.
Well,
I mean, to me, probably the Beastie Boys, because that was actually one of the first CDs I ever bought on my own as a very, you can't knock something that has a nostalgic
Which record was it?
Exactly. It would be.
I remember buying Paul's Boutique when it came out, whatever year that was. I mean, it's got to be.
I remember. I still remember one of the earliest songs I remember listening to on our boombox was "The Sound of Science."
Yeah,
the sound of science. It was like that, So as far as KRS-One, like, yeah, I love it, but I can't be disinterested.
Who knows what made me buy that one at that exact time? But
you got to go with the one that you
nostalgic.
You feel the early history too. Yeah.
There is one thing that you got to give KRS-One. The guy has the best acronym ever. Do you know what it stands for?
No, I don't.
What?
If you don't know it, you will never get it.
I don't know.
Knowledge reigns supreme over nearly everybody.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the best acronym ever.
That's good.
Here's the last one, a little bit more on the hilarious side. So your last name is Skarstedt.
Yes.
Scandinavian as fuck. But how often have you been mixed up with the Skarsgård guys?
Well, we've been called Skarsgård since middle school by teachers. This is a very common,
all the time,
constant,
all the time. I mean, how many bosses have I had who still to this day think I'm Sam Skarsgård?
Yeah, constant.
Yeah.
Say hello to Alex when you meet him. Yeah.
No, people don't understand the Stad name ending.
It means place. It's like
I know.
Yeah, right. But they don't. For me, that's easy. That. Right. That's not something that feeds in. This is at least in America.
But I mean, probably the most iconic performance by Alex Skarsgård was as Pennywise in the latest version of It. So I'll give you the choice between the original 80s It versus the new version. You gotta decide.
You gotta go classic.
I'll go 80s.
Gotta go classic.
Which I don't even remember, but I did see the newer one, and it's
always better the first time around.
Pretty good. But I'm gonna get I love I often love the campy earlier version more. It's just Stranger usually. I don't remember it, but yeah.
Although we have to say that Alex Skarsgård does a brilliant job as Pennywise. He is scary as hell. But yeah, I would also choose the older one.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. Yeah.
So guys, thanks for all the insight into Confusion Gate, into the songwriting and storytelling process. For everybody out there, this was the first one in our marathon. There are 8 more to go. And I'll give you a little hint. If you listened carefully to this interview, you might know 2 more people that we might have in this one.
I like that.
A little.
Is it Will's wife?
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually wanted to talk to a really good musician once in a while.
Yeah, right.
Well, thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for all the insight.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Come back anytime you want.
Great. Your questions
go make more music.
Questions were grade A.
Thanks a lot.
You're a teacher, so yeah, that's why.
I try to be. So thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah. Thank you.